Hi guys, it's Claire's, and today we are going to do a tutorial on how to paint some nice sunflowers. And these are just sunflowers that I did prior, and I did a little bit of practice. I even recorded a video. And then what I realized was I wanted to do a couple of tweaks, and so I said, let's just do the video all over again. As you notice, the centers have white little spots. I kind of like that effect. You don't have to add it in. I added it in by using my white Sharpie. So you can either add that extra detail or leave it out. And I did two different kinds. These are two different effects by using two different brushes. I used my silver black velvet for these, and then I used the mop brush for these. So as you can see, depending on the brush you use, you can get some varying effects. All right, so let's begin. Before we start, let me quickly tell you what colors I'm using. I'm going to be using my black from the silver black, St. Petersburg black. I'm going to be using the sepia for my dark brown, and then I'm going to be using raw sienna for my light brown. And for the colors of the petals, we're using medium cadmium yellow. As you can see, it's one of my favorites. It's almost done. And then golden. For brushes, we are using number 8 Princeton, number 8 silver black velvet, and the Squirrel mop brush in the 1. All right, so let's begin. So first things first, I'm going to create the center, and for the center, what I quickly want to do is, using my mop brush, I'm just going to take some color out of the little pan itself, and we're starting off with the lightest brown. Sorry, no, we're starting off with the cadmium yellow first, and we need a very light shade of it, or fairly less potent shade of it, so that it can be runny. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm just mixing some on the side so it's not too crazy. And then we're just going to lay it on very haphazardly in a circular form. So let's do one over here. And I'm going to try and leave some like white space in there too. Making it a nice enough circle. And pushing the color to the edges. All right, now once I have this, you don't want too much water on here so it doesn't pool, because what we're going to be doing next is a little more, we need some of the water, but we don't want too much water so it doesn't kind of pool around. So the next thing we're going to be doing is taking number 8 Princeton, and we are going to get some of the medium brown, which is right here, and I'm going to get it right off the pan, and I'm just going to go slightly on the inside of what I've done, and I'm just going to add some of the color on here. And I'm just doing it like in a pointillism kind of manner, like dotted motion, like dot. I'm trying to word this. I guess as if you were creating dots, so you're just kind of dabbing it on. I'm going to keep my brush aside. I'm going to get my silver black velvet, and I'm mixing some of the medium cadmium, and I'm also going to be mixing some of the golden with it, just to give it like a nicer orangey hue. Almost like a mango, I guess you could say, like a nice ripe mango. And for these first initial petals, we want it to be fairly light, but nothing too intense. Intensely light, I mean. So I'm just gonna put my brush down on here, press down, and then drag out. And now that's a little too light, so I'm just going to get more color and less water. Again, pressing down and letting it go. Pressing down and kind of letting it trail off if you want the pointy ends to the petals. And then just add your color to the tips of these, although it doesn't quite matter, and you'll see why later. I'm just doing another. Again, continuing on with the same kind of method. And if you find that your height is kind of varying, just kind of go ahead and fix it as best as you can as you go along. The thing about this method is, because we're doing layers for these petals, it's kind of easily covered up. And yeah, so you don't have to kind of worry too much about that. And if they're all varying shades, that's okay, because technically no petal is exactly the same as the next. So whether it's the shape or the color, so it's okay. You just create the shapes as you go along. Mixing color as and when you need it. And then trailing off towards the end. If you want to go over it one more time, that's totally fine. But again, it doesn't have to be too defined. You can kind of go ahead and add some extra detail. If you want the petals to be a little more perfect or a little thicker, you can just kind of go along and add your extra on it, and we're fine. All right, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to let this dry, and we're going to go back in and get more of the brown, and we're going to try and get a darker center. And so again, we're going and mixing some with the dark brown, and we're going to do the same pointillism as I was mentioning previously, and we just want the color to be darker. Don't go to the edges, we're still going to the center and adding the brown there. And while it's still damp, it's kind of seeping into the yellowy color that we have nicely. If you see it getting into your petals, you've kind of gone too far, but that's okay, don't worry. Like, see, some of mine is seeping there. Just take your paper towel and kind of just dab at the water pocket over there, and once the water's out, it will stop extending into the petal. So don't worry about that, just keep going. So get your dark color in. And now what we're going to do is let it, I'm just going to get a little bit more before I allow it to just dry up. If you have a thicker brush that you can use to kind of do this, it would be a lot quicker. I'm just choosing to use this one. So it's okay. All right, so I'm going to put that brush aside, allow this to dry up some more, and then we're going back in to create more of the petals. This time I'm going to be using the mop brush so you can see the variation we can get. And so this time we're mixing in some of that nice golden, and with a tad bit of the yellow, same thing that we did previously, with the exception that I want slight more golden in it so I can get a nice rich orangey color. And so I'm just going to start from here, just to make sure you can see it clearly, and I'm touching the edge, pressing down and going up, pushing everything back down here, touching the edge, pressing down. Dragging up and pushing all the color back down. And you want to do it in between the ones that you've done already. And just kind of press it down, or push it down rather. Let's do another one here. And if you want to help the shape, for sure, you can absolutely help the shape along. I'm going to add a little more yellow to this one and have this one coming from here in. Add another one over here. Try and leave some white space as you're kind of getting to the bottom. You don't have to, but it would be nice. Just to kind of, I feel like white space makes the painting breathe. It's like breathing room almost, as opposed to everything just covered up with color. So you do the same motion pretty much as you go along. Make your way around the sunflower. Some can be light, some can be dark. So it's like honestly super easy to do these because you're just pressing down and dragging the color. And you can just kind of help the shape if you wish. If you feel it's needed, then yes. If not, it's okay. Same thing here. And then let's do one final one. And what you can also do at this point is take your Princeton again, and this time we're going to go back into our light brown, and we're just going to add a couple extra dots where we added our new petals, and you'll see why. We want to add it to the edge. And then take your number 4 brush. So time is of the essence here. Take your number 4 brush or something that's fine enough, and then touching the brown, extend it into the petals. So keep extending it all around. You want that nice, fine, hairy kind of look to the edges. Keep going, keep going, keep going, till you go all the way around. Oh, I think we could have done a petal right there and I missed it. All right, let's try and catch it next time around once things are drier. Or actually, you know what? Let's just do it now. Why are we waiting for things to get drier? There we go. Added it in. And then just go back in and do this. All right, so now that we have this, I am going to use this again, and this time I'm going for the darker brown. And I'm just going to do the edges once again. And this time you will see why. So we just want to do right around the edges, ever so lightly, just like dots. You can have a little space in between if you wish. It's totally fine. And go back in with your and just do one stroke, longer than the others that you've been doing. For each petal almost. So kind of extend it loosely. Yeah, do something like this. This is easier. And then you don't have to like draw the line out. And then it spans across the whole petal. There we go. So you see how like it's an important part of the flower, because this is what like really makes it, gives it a little more detail without being too detailed, and really adds that extra additional, this is a sunflower look to it. Okay, I don't know what I was trying to communicate with that, but you understand. All right, so I like how this is looking so far. So we're gonna do one more thing, which is adding some black now. So the brown's pretty good. Actually, before we add black, let's just add a tad bit more brown to the centers. And I realize I said centers, plural. I was meaning the space, because there's, the way I see this, there's like multiple centers. You have the outer bit, then you have the inner bit. Yeah, so it wasn't really a mistake. It's just the way I'm breaking this down in my head is, yeah. So we don't want this to go all the way to the edge. I want that ring of that light brown there, then the dark brown again. And finally, what we're going to do is start dipping the same brush that you've used for the brown into the black. And we're finally going to do very tiny dots around our brown edge. And if you want to leave space in between, like if you don't want them to connect, you can totally do that. Kind of just continue on. You want to give that loose impression, and that's where it doesn't have to connect. But notice how it just brings out the whole flower by just adding that little ring of black, and it's not even all around. And then finally, we're going to do the centers. So again, I want to leave, again, I said centers, but you know what I mean. I explained myself. Leave the white space. Just kind of try to go around the white space and keep your dabbing going. As I dab, some of the tip of it kind of flattens out. So just rearrange the tip if that's what your brush is doing too. So be aware of that. You don't want like linear dabs to be on here. I prefer the circular ones. And going. We're almost done. So I'm going to add a couple kind of like grazing the edge. But still leaving that ring. Yeah. All right, so just as soon as I can stop dabbing, we are done. There we go. So this is our sunflower. And this is technically how I would do a loose sunflower. Now, if you want to go ahead and add more details, that's entirely up to you. And by details, I mean like if you want to use the Sharpie and add little dots. But I think this is good enough. And I'm just going to show you what I did previously, right? Like over here. So be mindful of, I guess, you have the sunflowers with the super big centers, then you have one that are a little bit smaller too. And I have them both. You have the sunflowers with the fine petals, then you have some with the thicker petals. and the larger centers. So there's different variations. It really depends on how you want to get yours across. But the layering is what we've done here to get that nice full effect for the flowers. And then we did the little tassely things at the end. So yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know what you guys think in the comments in the comments below. Thanks so much for sharing your work with me. I would love to see how these sunflowers turned out. So follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and you can feel free to send me a direct message with the images. If you found this tutorial helpful, please do share it in your social media circles, as it really does help my channel grow, and then I can continue making awesome tutorials for you guys. So thanks guys, thanks for watching, and we will chat soon. Bye.